Now people are asking me about Atlantis, and I have said it for many times. Atlantis is connected and is under the ocean of Japan. Please investigate. As for many, many years I foretold that the Sphinx in Egypt had this great big block between its paws, arms, feet, that was holding a staircase to go under the Sphinx underground, since there is a fabulous underground which Egypt now is not allowing anyone to really go film, know about, because that part of the earth is full of magnificent treasures and other ancient things. But going back to that, when I first talked about that in 1959, I was laughed at and scoffed at, and I said, okay, this is fine. Now we look at the Nobel Peace Prize of Mr. Obama. Mr. Obama is the first black, or shall we say mixed race individual who has received the Nobel Peace Prize really in reality of who he is, the position he is in, opening the door for many to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. But Obama is not a peacemaker, because the man just sent more and more troops. Now, if you were an Afghani and you had been tortured, and it doesn't matter, we need to bring up the torture from the Canadian troops who knew torture. Put yourself in the moccasin of this Afghani person. In Afghanistan, the history is that they were invaded by the Russians, by the Germans, by the French, by the British, now the British and the Americans. And when you did hear the cruelties that took place from the Russians, who were just before the Americans, and now the Canadians are there, and who knows who else, because there is not a nice, clear, published list of anyone that's there. But this is your country. And with the education, whether small or large you have, but you are not very, very versed, and you are asking yourself, what do they want our country for? What do they come to do here to disturb our way of life again? This has been going on for the last 150 years. We want peace, tranquility. We don't want to be under the yoke of other countries to tell us what to do and not to do. And I can hear many of you arguing. But remember, I'm a survivor of World War II. First it were the Germans. And yeah, well, when you are German and you say, oh wow, she's going to us. Yes, because the Germans came and they stripped in the house whatever they could take. They did things to the young women in the house, and to some of the young men or the men that tried to protect them. They killed them, or they trucked them off to never be seen again. So that's what happened. They drove my good father into absolute devastation. But he didn't run away like so many of the rich in Europe did. Oh, they all went and they went to America. He stayed with his people and loved his people. And they were hungry, and they were cold, and they were frightened, and so many disappeared. But my knowledge of the Roman Catholic Church, especially during these times, became enormous, because my custodial father, my father, who at one time was becoming a Jesuit priest and left the Roman Catholic Church to marry my custodial mother over this body. You see, I can speak about this body as one of the darling people from India said, you are the Krishna in lady form. It's amazing, your knowledge. And I said, it's not the knowledge is from the heavens. But my drive is for humanity wherever you are, to become compassionate, to get rid of your greed. How much do you need? How big does this house need to be? And for many of you who have asked if I was still in this house, yes, I am still in this house. Yes, it is very cold. And yes, it is moldy. And yes, the people who volunteer are concerned about the electricity in here, because they think the very old wiring is dangerous. But that does not matter to anyone that's out there. What should matter is in this country, the elders, their pensions are so minimum. You can't rent a place with it. You have to depend on living with others. And if they are not your family who are supportive, kind and compassionate, how are you surviving? When many out there are saying that Canada is a rich country, well, I know there are many women and children having a very tough time in this country because they were abandoned by an irresponsible man, husband, even if the marriage didn't work. These children were still abandoned when he took off with someone else. Or, in some cases, she took off because it was impossible to be in this environment. So I am reaching out to you. I am reaching out to you to work, to practice working on yourself.